Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and having a great day to start things off. John Matonis, who's a co-founder of the Bitcoin Foundation and an executive at Visa, connect the dots, stated that the entrance of major banks and financial institutions like Goldman Sachs will lead to an increase in the liquidity of Bitcoin and ultimately the Bitcoin price. He says, I think it's fabulous that they're getting into it because it brings in new liquidity. They're going to develop future markets, options markets, and I even think you're going to see some interest rate markets around Bitcoin. We're used to hearing things about LIBOR. The index for Bitcoin interest rate is BIBOR, says Matonis. He doesn't say exactly when the banks will enter because no one really knows when anything is going to happen, but he says he has a feeling that it'll happen relatively soon. And I am once again thinking that this may coincide with the point where we finally get regulations around what all of this is and exactly who has to pay taxes to what and when and where and why. This is when I say connect the dots. I've spoken before about major players who are in the cryptocurrency markets. A lot of people said, no, I don't think that's really happening. This guy's an executive at Visa, and he's talking about how great it is that he thinks about banks and other institutions getting into Bitcoin, which I'm sure he owns a lot of. These are once again the reasons why I don't believe that cryptocurrencies will die anytime soon, because the rich people definitely have their hands in the cookie jar. Next up, Robinhood has announced that they are or have launched in a number of other states. It says investors can now trade Bitcoin and Ethereum for free in a handful of U.S. states as promised. Palo Alto, California-based brokerage Robinhood Financial has rolled out commission-free trading for Bitcoin and Ethereum across California, Massachusetts, Missouri, and Montana, the company said on Twitter. I don't exactly know how many states in total. I want to say it's like half of the U.S. states at this point. I'm not sure how many listeners out there are actually from the states or how many of you are actually using Robinhood. I noticed some people before said, not that they were having issues with it, but there were certain like hiccups on the platform, which I'm not sure if they have fixed yet because I do not use Robinhood. I'm already signed up to so many other platforms. I don't want to spread myself too thin. But this is great for people looking to get into cryptocurrencies and or start and or find another platform to use, especially if this is now available in your state. So good to hear about them finally rolling out a bit further. And let's hope that they finally finish on the last couple of states that they were missing before. Next up, Australia has finally released their rules or whatever the case might be for Bitcoin exchanges today, which I expect will happen. I need to rephrase that, to every single exchange that we have right now, because this is probably the future of cryptocurrencies when it comes to anti-money laundering and as a part of crypto exchanges. Australia's cryptocurrency exchanges must now follow new rules aimed to counter money laundering and terrorism, financing, and anti-money laundering rules, providing a timely reminder to exchange platforms in the crypto space. Austrac is the country's financial intelligence agency, has just published a new webpage setting out their new obligations as of April 3rd. Going forward, exchanges must meet new obligations, which include registering with the agency, adopting and maintaining an anti-money laundering program, identifying and verifying users, and reporting suspicious behavior and transactions involving fiat currency over 10,000 Australian dollars, 7,700 US dollars, and over. They must also maintain records for 7 years, which I think is kind of a lot, but I think that's pretty standard when it comes to anything with a lot of money. So the next step, I think this will happen across every single exchange if it has not already, especially the ones in the US and the ones in Europe. But what I think the next step is that they will be able to, how do I say this, dictate how much you can and cannot send through the exchange. So as in people who are doing, high trade volume, if they're buying and selling 50,000 at a time, I have a feeling we will eventually see a cap on this unless you are properly registered. And then also when it comes to putting buy and sell orders, because I think that entire thing with that guy from Mt. Gox selling $100 million at a time, I think that's also going to eventually be cut off by nearly every single exchange around the world, because that is the definition of money laundering. But this guy was, part of a court, whatever the case might be. So I think we're going to see a lot of these things. They will not really affect normal everyday people, but for the big players inside of it, I think this is where the clarity comes in around this whole, Goldman Sachs things, etc., etc. Last up, the Bitcoin's Lightning Network is being attacked, but is not the way that you think. There was someone online by the name of BitPico who has been attacking the Lightning Network, and he says that he's been doing it for a certain reason. A lot of people came forward. They were saying they were pretty confused as to why all these attacks were happening, and he was pretty much trying to see how much the network could take before it got shut down or nodes started to fall apart. And apparently a lot of people, their nodes were actually being taken offline because of the overactivity that was happening on the network. But he says that he has not done any of this to damage the network. He said instead of, developers going through the code and trying to figure out exactly where the problem would be, he said the easiest way that he found to do all of this is just to attack it as much as possible to see exactly where the damage would be during the attack. A lot of people obviously will probably disagree with his method, but I think it's the smartest way because you need to understand or know exactly how weak something is so that you can fix that one part. There are a lot of people who do not agree with the Lightning Network and what it does because it does have a lot of faults, the same as just about every other scaling platform. But I think this is a very smart way to kind of go about it. That doesn't mean that everyone listening to this should just go out and start attacking the Lightning Network. I want Lightning to succeed because it means Bitcoin will succeed, and thus a lot of the crypto market will also be able to continue forward as well. I remember reading this article and I was like, who would attack it? And I finally understood exactly why he was doing it. Very smart guy, I suppose. Don't know the guy. All right, everyone. That is going to do it for this video. The market is slightly up a tiny bit. We're a bit higher than we were about a day or two ago. It seems that the market is trending sideways. I don't know if it's looking for some type of good news or what the case might be, but let's hope that we continue on an upward trend. Hope you guys all have a great day wherever you are, wherever you might be doing. Thank you once again for listening, and I will talk to you all soon. See you.